Back on the Newsfeed PM, where Intra-African Trade now comes into focus. Fair currently is taking place, looking at the continent's largest trade fair dedicated to boosting commerce. Now, the event serves as a dynamic marketplace, a strategic platform for deal-making and a critical engine for driving the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. This year's event, hosted by Algeria, and attending there with her delegation is the Premier of Limpopo, Dr. Phophi Ramathuba, is joining us now for that conversation. Premier, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. I read these PR releases every time, and when a gathering of this nature happens, they say it's a platform for exchanging information, crucial information aimed at boosting this particular initiative from taking place. And I always ask, what is that information? What information are you going to share there with your team from tourism, your team from the Economic Development Agency, and there's some 14 businesses that are represented from the province?
Good afternoon, and afternoon to all your viewers. And thank you very much for inviting us, of course, to share with you our aim and purpose of participating or accepting the invitation to attend this Intra-African Trade Fair. Firstly, you will appreciate the fact that as Africans, we have not been really proud of putting much more efforts in terms of trading with each other. Most of the time when we talk about trade, we always look outside the continent. And this platform, for instance, it's giving us an opportunity to begin to understand each other and appreciate each other's weaknesses and its strengths. As a province, for instance, we are able to showcase the fact that we are a gateway to Africa. If you want to enter South Africa, Limpopo becomes one of those provinces. In fact, if you look at it, you will see that on the north side, we're bordering Zimbabwe and South Africa through Beit Bridge. On the west side, Botswana and South Africa through Grobers Bridge, and also on the west side, Mozambique and South Africa. And that in itself tells you that you can't talk of Africa trade and not really put much more effort in terms of investing in our province, Limpopo. So most of the people who are not even aware that there is such a province that exists, which has got so much opportunities. When you look at issues of our minerals, you look at issues of tourism, and also the advantage of agriculture. So the first important achievement that we have made as a province is that we have begun to appreciate and to be appreciated by other provinces, other states from other parts of African countries, to say, there is this particular province which is free, which is open for investment, which is welcoming in investors.
Right.
To say, let's start to be the end users and the consumers of our own products as Africans.
Yeah.
To say what we produce in Limpopo, if Namibia does not have, they should, before they think of going outside the continent, be able to import and export from us as South Africans, as Limpopo, and it goes on like that. The second issue that we really have been able to achieve is that we started to look at provinces that are like us as a province. I'll give an example. There are provinces in Ghana which produce avocados like we do. There are other provinces with similar population, with similar products that we do have in terms of agriculture. Now, when we go to seek for markets, for instance, you go to Saudi as a province, Limpopo, they will demand a number of quantities, and you won't be able to provide. But when you twin and you partner and collaborate with another province in the continent which produce the same product. And this is what we are trying to achieve here. We will then be able to supply, and therefore we won't lose those markets, because there will be sustainability in terms of supplying them. So that's the second issue that we are currently busy trying to focus. And the last but very important, we've been able to have in discussions with the bank, and this is something which most of our people don't know, that the Africa Trade has got its own bank, which South Africa also is a shareholder. And we had a meeting earlier on with the minister who was sharing with us that, and most of our businesses in the country, in the province, are not even aware of this opportunity. So we even had a bilateral with the vice president of the bank, and you will see quite a number of unlocking all the bottlenecks, and number of projects in our province now will begin to enjoy these fundings and these opportunities that we have not been able to have. We are simple saying, as I conclude, if in the current trade wars that we see, we as a continent, it gives us an opportunity to say, let's start being the consumers and also the end users of whatever products that we are producing.
Yeah, talking about of those trade wars, how are you then received by your counterparts, considering what you're talking about? I mean, maybe some of them are partnering with the United States, have a particular view on the United States. South Africa holds a particular policy, and we now know, for example, the President of the United States not coming to G20 because he says relationships with South Africa are bad. How are your counterparts looking at that? Locally, if you look at domestic issues, you've got Dudula, you've got your own reputation, I suppose, as MEC for health as well, things that you could have gotten into. How are you received by your counterparts in that particular context?
But I can tell you that, contrary different to what many of you would say or think, we are all in agreement. The bottom line is to say, as Africans, it's time for us to now start to be focused and look at, we can't keep on sloganeering about how rich we are in terms of our minerals endowment, how in terms of our agricultural products, how the fact that if you want the big five, you can only find them in African continent. If you want other continents, you will only find them in the zoo where they are caged. But if you want to really see the lions, if you want to, those slogans that we continue to see, but which are not changing the material condition of Bonya Mukamadi on the ground. It's what all of us as leaders who are here are now agreeing to say, we need to now start to do things differently and stop singing slogans. And for instance, like I'm saying, I mean, when they present to us that as a continent, 95% of all our export is on pharmaceutical. And we were now debating, does it mean we as a continent, we don't even have a single country that can have its own pharmaceutical, and we are able to produce our own medicines? We have learned during the vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, when we had to be begging for those vaccines because those who had did not care whether Africans live or die. We currently are still recording death as a result of malaria, and we believe that we've got more than enough scientists in our continent who can develop those vaccines. I think that's what I'm trying to share to you, the debates and the discussions that are going on here. We are not dealing with petty squabbles. We are now currently dealing with the reality to say, maybe the current trade wars gives us an opportunity to reflect and say, how can we do better, as our heads of states have always been looking forward to find ourselves in a better position by relying on ourselves. I mean, for instance, when we're looking at the markets, let's look at the population of Africa to say, if really we want to start to be very serious, let's start by being consumers of our products. When you see your neighboring African country, see them as the potential a market for you, and also see yourself as a market to them. And if we start there, like learning from the EU. That's what we've been discussing and say, let's look at the EU, how they are doing their things.
Right.
And we're saying as a continent, we're focusing on that.
Now, Premier, as you're there, of course, also as the political head of your own province, leading a delegation of business, leading a delegation of some of those who are in your cabinet, are there concerns that are being raised to you about the potential political instability in your own province? Is that something that people are looking at with the news of the chairperson of the ANC in the province and the tensions that are saying to be existing between the two of you?
I don't know where this thing is coming from of the tension that are going on in the province, because the provincial executive committee of the ANC is there and it's existing and it's doing well, and the provincial executive committee is led by the provincial chairperson, Comrade Stan Matawata, and the provincial secretary, Comrade Ruben Madaje, who's full-time in Mutala House, and the premier of the province is leading the administration. And both of us are guided by the manifesto of the ANC. Fortunately, in our province, we are not having a GNU. We are led by the African National Congress.
Yeah.
Now, on the current issues that are going on, I will not dwell on them, because if you would remember, the Secretary General has convened the meeting and has met with the Provincial Executive Committee and has given and pronounced on the way forward. And I will believe that all of us, if we can give the National Executive Committee, as led by President Ramaphosa, and Secretary General Fikile Mbalula, we will be able to find that there are no crisis, as many of you would like to believe that there is a crisis. As far as I'm concerned, as a leader of 7th administration of government, I can tell you and reassure you, Limpopo is one of the most stable government politically, and even in terms of administration.
You know why I'm asking, without mixing issues. I'm asking that because you're there to put your best foot forward, right? We know what political instability does. We're talking of Ditsobotla right now. There's chaos there. The national government wants to step in. It's political instability. Political instability, you look at the city of Johannesburg, the mayor there, in and out, this mayor today, that mayor today. It creates instability. There are financial difficulties there, right? So we are looking at Limpopo. You're going out there to sell yourself, but back home, there's something brewing. So you need to give clarity to say, are you putting your best foot forward there? And people are saying, well, you're premier today, maybe you won't be premier tomorrow. What are you promising us? And so on and so forth.
You see, one thing that you need to appreciate is that the ANC has got leaders. If tomorrow the African National Congress feels that Phophi Ramathuba can't be the premier, I can tell you there will be peaceful transition. It has happened in the past that government were dissolved. When we came in last year, let me give you an example. We had challenges at Tabazimbi municipalities where there was instability. Council was not meeting. Councillors were taking each other to court. Courtroom has become more of a council chamber than the council chamber itself. We came in and dissolve the municipality. People said there will be bloodbath, there will be war. We went to by-elections. We constitute council. The municipality is now recovering itself. So for me, there is nothing that is impossible. The ANC in Limpopo, I still repeat, it's the most stable organization.
So the Vembe conference fighting, you're saying is that an indication of that stability?
You know, it's not for the first time that there are contestations in the conference. It has happened before, and conferences has been attempt to interdict them, and the courts have pronounced on those conferences. And the NEC, when there were people lodge their own disputes and complaints, the NEC, I still repeat, the NCC appointed a task team which came, investigated. We are still waiting for the report. So there's no crisis as far as I'm concerned. That is why I can reassure you, There's no single potential investor here. In all the sessions that I've been able to have an opportunity to address, I just finished one session here when I was sharing the panel with other governors from Nigeria, 4 of them. I mean, there's no single question that was talking about this instability in terms of our province. I think there are many people who would like to see instability in the province. Currently, the National Executive Committee is providing guidance and leadership on any matter. And I'm convinced that it's a matter of time that all of you will now say, no, there was never an issue regarding Limpopo. So stability, all investors must be reassured Limpopo will remain stable.
So you're delivering a paper, as you put it now, on an investment showcase, unveiling opportunities from select African and Caribbean sub-sovereigns. But people are looking at that and they're hearing that governance in your own country. If Ntate Mathabata says, I cannot stand aloof to such unethical behavior, investors certainly would have questions about that.
Now, I mean, that is, like I'm saying, that is an issue of the African National Congress, which has been addressed and dealt with. If that question arises from any investor, which it has not arrived, I just finished presenting my paper on that. If anyone is to ask that question, I will simply clarify them that yes, it does happen in any organization that when somebody is not satisfied, will write a letter to the SG, which the SG, in his wisdom, will provide guidance. And he has done so on behalf of the National Executive Committee. So I would want to believe that all the deployees of the ANC in the province, which is the NEC member, together with the Secretary General, has provided a direction on this matter. And I don't think there is a reason for anyone to panic or anyone to worry about. There is no crisis in the province. There might have been those that are not satisfied on how the conferences were run, but they are being attended to. No one is ignoring them. You see, the problem in our country is that because people in their own political parties, probably because things are, there is dictatorship, there's no freedom of speech, they would think, they get surprised why in the African National Congress a chairperson of a province can write such a letter. There's nothing wrong in him expressing his views regarding the organization. But what is important is that the leadership, which is the NEC, has not ignored this matter. The NEC is attending to the matter, and they've never been quiet because the letter went viral. We saw it on social media. The NEC also went and pronounced themselves on this matter. So I don't think we should allow our people to be panicking. Investors are happy. Some of them never knew that there is such a province with so much potential, a province that is rich with its minerals, a province that I will continue to repeat. If you want to look at the beautiful parts of our country, you can find them in Limpopo. And I will still repeat it to you, Tabo, like I once told you.
Yes.
If you want to see where God was situated when he was inspired to create a woman, come to my region called Waterberg. You will see that's where he was inspired by the beauty of Waterberg. You must go to Wembe and see the beauty of women who don't even apply makeup, who grew up bathing through avocado. Look at your premier. You can see that through her childhood. Because that is what message we are bringing here. Not the squabbles that are out there, because differences will be there. What is important is that they are being attended to.
Premier, we appreciate your time and we wish you the best in your excavation there in Algeria. Premier of the Limpopo province, Dr. Phophi Ramathuba.